I'm Nora Collins. You're watching Lynxx 24, connecting you to the community.
Welcome to your hometown news. I'm April Frelke. At this very moment, we are using a technology that has changed our culture tremendously, and that technology is broadband. The classification of broadband internet is a minimum of 25 megabytes per second download and 3 megabytes per second upload speeds. Now, Lynxx Networks has spoiled us with a gigabyte speed that's 1,000 times faster than most internet providers. Many people ask, when is Lynxx coming to our area? Well, it might be sooner than you think. Our first guest is spearheading the plan in Wisconsin for Broadband for All, bringing high-speed internet to rural Wisconsin. Please welcome to our program via Zoom, good friend, Representative Tony Kurtz. Well, good evening, Representative Kurtz.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into that, Representative Kurtz, can you just share with our viewers, maybe some people, what part of the state do you represent? Can you just give us like a 30-second bio on you in the legislature?
Yep, absolutely. So I was elected in 2018. My predecessor was Representative Ed Brooks. So I have the privilege of representing the 50th Assembly District, which is all of Juneau County. And what I always like to say, the best parts of Sauk County, Richland County, Monroe County, and also Vernon County. So the big cities, of course, are Mauston, Reedsburg, Richland Center, and Necedah. So,
well, thank you, Representative Kurtz. Broadband for All. Tell us about this plan.
Well, it's no secret for where we live that in many of our rural areas we're challenged. So in your opening statement, you said 25.3, and then Lynxx, is offering a gig service. I would love to have a 25.3. So on a good day, I have 5.1. And so right now I'm actually using my cell phone because where I live in the town of Waniwak, if I get on a Zoom call with my computer, like I was last week with the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, it buffers and you just can't work from home. And I think particularly during the pandemic, we have seen that with virtual learning, with trying to do telehealth, and of course, obviously trying to work from home, the need for broadband for all, particularly in rural areas.
Absolutely. My sister up in northern Wisconsin, was virtual working from home last year, and her broadband was just sketchy and hard and trying to grade papers and Zoom with kids, so completely understand. So talk about the money, the budget behind this kind of proposal, Tony.
So the thing is, last budget cycle, we put in $48 million in what they call the Broadband Grant Program. The way the grant program is, it's a public-private partnership. So the state provided $48 million, and a company like Lynxx or, Reedsburg Utility, Laval Telephone, they apply and they'll get a grant, a matching grant. So in other words, the state has skin in the game, and so does Lynxx, and it's roughly about a 50-50 mix. So the governor this year, as many of you know, he called it the year of the broadband, and 2021 year of the broadband. And so he proposed in his state budget approximately $200 million for broadband over our 2-year cycle. A lot of people don't realize, but the American Recovery Act, which was just passed by Congress and signed by President Biden, is $1.9 billion. We can use that money for broadband. And so my plan is let's put $500 million in the broadband grant program, and with matching funds, obviously, from fine companies like Lynxx, that would be almost $1 billion of investment in broadband. And to get fiber to all our rural communities, to me, would just be a game changer. It would help the rural prosperity, and just working from home, telehealth, virtual learning. We could do that from anywhere in Wisconsin, and I think that would benefit all of us.
And you would think there'd be really important economic impact because getting broadband out, I assume you have to, there has to be construction. You actually physically have to get in there and put the broadband physically into those rural areas. So there's job growth in those kind of fields.
Oh, no, there's no doubt. I mean, just talking to some of the providers like a Lynxx, I mean, they're looking for good quality employees because the demand is there. I mean, and it's interesting, they call it the low hanging fruit. So all the kind of the easy areas have been done. Now it's that last mile, which is very expensive, very time consuming, but it's very needed. And you hit the nail on the head, April. It is about prosperity. It's about prosperity for our rural communities, which, let's be honest, so many people from the big cities flocked to rural communities during this horrible pandemic because they realized the quality of life that we have in rural areas. We have solace, we have peace, we have beautiful nature. The only problem is some of us, we can't work from home. And so those are things that we need to fix. And I truly think this is a plan we can move forward to help the entire state, particularly rural areas.
Tony, what kind of work does that require for you then? Are you chairing a committee? Are you writing the legislative, the policy for law? Or what role are you playing in that part?
Well, one, we'll be writing legislation on that particular idea that I just mentioned, but I'll also, I was fortunate this session to get selected to serve on the Joint Finance Committee, which basically, obviously, the governor released the budget here. We'll take that budget and we'll work on particular areas. One of those areas that I'm responsible for is the Public Service Commission. The Public Service Commission is in charge of the broadband grant program. So I know that's something that I'm very passionate about. Representative Vandermeer is very passionate about, and so many good rural legislators know how important this is. So trust me, we are on board, and we're going to go full steam ahead. And you know what? This is something that's bipartisan. I mean, the governor said it's the year of the broadband. We have available federal funds that we could use this with. To me, I think it's something that I think everybody can get behind this idea.
So what does this plan look like for companies like Lynxx Networks who want to expand their rural network? How do they get involved?
Correct. Well, they'll look at an area where they'd like to expand to. Like, for instance, in my area, we have Laval Telephone, which partners with Richland Grant Telephone Cooperative, and so they're expanding down more in the Richland Center area. If any of your viewers know, Richland Center, the Driftless, it's a pretty rugged terrain, and so they have an area that they picked out. They made a bid for it. Those bids were accepted, and so Iowa Grant Richland has money they put up. They'll get matching funds from the state. Same thing with Lynxx. So if Lynxx wants to say, hey, we're going to expand out, in this particular area, they come up with a proposal, look at the grant, and it's also based on need. And it's not, we've got to get away from looking at, some areas they'll say underserved or unserved. When you earlier talked about the 25-3, believe it or not, in some areas, what I have 5-1 is considered served. Well, if you go by the standard which you say, and that's the FCC standard is 25-3, we have a lot of areas that are unserved, particularly mine, and like I said, there's a lot of areas we need to get to, and like I said, a huge investment like this would go a long way, and that's how Lynxx gets involved, because I'm sure they have a path they'd like to go, and they have people that would sure love to have, a 1 gig service. I mean, my God, I wouldn't know what to do if I had a gig service out here. So.
Tony, I know you've had a couple listening sessions recently out in the communities. What are you hearing from constituents about broadband? And do they even know what that word means? Broadband. I mean, it's another word for the internet access and all that, but what are you hearing from constituents?
By far, so we've done a listening session up in Necedah, up in Laval. We did a virtual listening session. We're going to be doing one down in the Kendall area. That was the number one issue at every one of our listening sessions was broadband. We had a lot, obviously, about roads and bridges. That was number 2. And the next was, of course, water quality, something that we've always talked about, over the last several years. And so those are the big 3 areas that I've heard in all my listening sessions. And I think, we're taking the Joint Finance Committee. We're going to be doing virtual, and then also we're going to be going around the state and doing some other listening sessions. And I got a feeling, in my humble opinion, particularly we getting out in the rural areas, that's probably going to be the number 1 issue that we hear from a lot of people, because the pandemic really highlighted the need in rural communities for broadband. It's just front and center.
Well, Representative Kurtz, thank you for joining us, and thank you for representing us in our district and being there for us. So thank you.
I appreciate that, April. You take care.
Thanks, you too. Well, up next, we have the mother of a brave young man that could use our help. His story is coming up after the break. But first, we want to thank our program sponsors. Your Hometown News is brought to you by Oakdale Credit Union, Hardware Hank in New Lisbon, The Fun Company Game Room Store, and the Little Cottage Home Decor and more in New Lisbon.
We love being active and living life to the fullest, but life can sometimes have other plans. Do you suffer from neck and lower back pain, muscle aches, and poor mobility? Trust Olson Chiropractic to find you the right treatments that fit your needs, including the benefits of an alkaline lifestyle and healthy nutrition to help guide you to a better, more active life. Call Olson Chiropractic today, trusted in Toma for over 20 years.
What's the more in the Little Cottage Home Decor and more? Fashion. Shopping is fun at the Little Cottage. Update your look and discover more at the Little Cottage Home Decor and more, New Lisbon.
The Oakdale Credit Union has spent decades serving Oakdale, Mauston, and Reedsburg. From comprehensive financial services to reliable mortgage loans, we strive to provide unparalleled care.
I like the warm and friendly atmosphere each and every time I come in. The staff is very knowledgeable and truly cares about its members.
Come and learn more about the Oakdale Credit Union, where we treat you like a member of the family.
At Toma Health, our rehabilitation team specializes in physical therapy for injuries, chronic pain, post-surgery, and sports injuries.
Here at Toma Health, I provide quality care with patients by taking time to spend one-on-one.
Toma Health offers the latest technology and aquatic therapy to improve patient outcomes and ensure a better quality of life.
Our rehab services department truly cares about treating people as a whole and getting them to be the best version of themselves.
Toma Health offers personalized rehab therapy close to home.
Relax at Marco's Italian and American Grill in Warrens, Wisconsin.
You're watching Lynxx 24.
Connecting you to the community.
Welcome back to the program. Every week we try to bring you uplifting stories that celebrate our community and the amazing people that make it up. Our next guest is one of those people, and she could use your help. She is the mother of 3-year-old Rhett Flaten, who recently has been diagnosed with a rare type of cancer. Please welcome to our program, Katie Flaten. Welcome, Katie.
Thank
How
you
do you
for
pronounce Rhett's cancer?
Ewing sarcoma.
Ewing sarcoma, and it's a pretty rare cancer.
Yeah. From what I recall, it's about 1% of what childhood cancer, when there are childhood cancers diagnosed, only about 1% do end up with that diagnosis.
So tell us a little bit about Rhett.
So I'm biased because I'm his mom. I would say he's like a typical 3-year-old boy, but I don't know, he's always been very special to me and anybody that's ever met him before. He's a little man full of love and love for life. I mean, he loves superheroes, dinosaurs, just about anything that creates fun. And I think that is that is just who Rhett is. He's fun and funny and goofy, and he's just always had that special light, and I think anyone that's ever met him would definitely agree with that. Yeah.
So tell us, how did you discover or find out about the cancer? Were there some warning signs, or? Honestly,
that was kind of the scary part for me, is that there wasn't, usually with Ewing sarcoma, typically they'll find like a lump or a mass. Most of the time it's a bone cancer, so you'll find like a lump. And Rhett actually has soft tissue tumor. And so what happened is leading up to his diagnoses or finding the cancer at Toma Health, he had had a double ear infection, and he had been on antibiotics, and we noticed he wasn't eating as much and his stomach was upset, which can be very common with antibiotic use. So after kind of watching that for a while, I'd say maybe a week, he was just off. We decided to go to the doctor because we knew, oddly enough, he'd be fine during the day, and then at night he was really uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, you know, your digestive tract slows down before you go to sleep, and maybe that's just stirring things up. So we, to shorten it down a bit with all the steps that kind of happened, long story short, they ended up doing a CT of his abdomen, and that, you know, the doctor came back and said, you know, actually it's just a very common issue. We had some constipation results from the antibiotic that he had been in, causing that distension and discomfort. But then they also gave the news, and I'll never forget, you know, it's like a picture you never forget, this doctor's face telling me that unfortunately they saw something else that was concerning. So they actually only caught about like a centimeter of this tumor in the abdominal CT. And that's when they knew that they needed to do a chest CT to kind of see what else was going on. And
give me a little Kleenex here
yeah,
too.
Thank you.
I think I need one, because I can just feel like, I can just feel it from you that, yeah, okay.
And I mean, it's so strange because it's, I mean, you always think like, not that it can't happen to you, but you can always empathize with you know, people. But then all of a sudden in that moment, your whole world just kind of stops.
Yes, because you have this healthy baby boy. And
yeah, and for things to just abruptly, you know, change so much. But they did the CT scan, and Toma Health in town was phenomenal with Rhett, and really wonderful with our family and giving us the support at that time. And I believe right away they were consulting with like somebody at Children's Hospital in Madison, and they pretty much, as soon as they saw what was, you know, going on, like we got in an ambulance and we were headed straight to Madison so they could kind of hit the ground running.
Is he in treatment right now, or what is that looking like for Rhett? So
it's a long road, is kind of how it's been explained to us, and they've been wonderful kind of giving us somewhat of a roadmap, but there are still some unknowns with what the full picture of what his treatment plan will be. So Rhett now has an NG tube and central line. We have home health come in at least twice a week for certain cares, and then Kyle, his dad, and I, you know, primarily care for him at home. And so home health comes in twice a week to monitor labs, because with chemotherapy, basically what's happening is we go in for chemotherapy treatment, and Rhett goes in. We as a family, someone is always there with him, and so basically these labs are monitoring like how his body is reacting to this therapy. So his counts, his cell counts will go down, and then we administer medication so that his white blood cell count can come up high enough so that he's basically ready to do chemo again. And it's kind of that up-down cycle of it's good enough to do chemo, that knocks him down, which we expect because that's, you know, kind of happening in conjunction with how the medication is trying to take care of the tumor and shrink his tumor.
Is it just like it's just in one location, the tumor?
So,
or is it?
It's considered localized. So something I should probably talk about with Ewing sarcoma is they don't stage it the way that they stage other cancers.
Oh, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right.
So because Ewing sarcoma is an extremely aggressive cancer, they don't stage it that way. They literally break it down to either localized or if it's metastasized. So he's had a bone marrow biopsy and that came back clear. He had a lymph node removed to verify, like there was some suspicious lymph nodes, and they think it was more reactive to the ear infection that he had, and it appeared to be clear. So the good thing is that they don't have any reason to believe that it has spread. However, the location of and size of the tumor is significant, and it's in some really risky areas. It's in and around his spine. They he had 50% spinal cord compression at the time that he was diagnosed, but he had no motor deficits. So the physicians were like completely shocked that he wasn't falling down, he wasn't incontinent, so he was still able to go to the bathroom without any issues.
Or anything? Nothing?
He was literally, when they were talking to us about this, he was hopping, running, jumping.
So almost like a miracle. Like
yeah.
He just, wow.
And he was running the halls, and they're like, I think as parents, you pause and think, could I have done something different? Could I have, how should I have, I should have known, you know?
Well,
and that's what they said. They're like, us looking at him right now.
You can't go inside of someone's body, right? You can't go inside of him and say
something. Yeah, and that's you know, and that's just, and them saying like how he was acting as a regular little boy. They're like, there is really no signs. And Toma Health had even said like, this is what we call an incidental find. We really believe that pain he's having isn't related to the cancer. It was his stomach issues, and we just so happened to find a.
Well, we need to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about the upcoming benefit.
Sure.
And we'll be joined by Heather Wilcox will be joining us. So we just need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk with how you can help Rhett and the Flaten family. So stay with us.
We love being active and living life to the fullest, but life can sometimes have other plans. Do you suffer from neck and lower back pain, muscle aches, and poor mobility? Trust Olson Chiropractic to find you the right treatments that fit your needs, including the benefits of an alkaline lifestyle and healthy nutrition to help guide you to a better, more active life. Call Olson Chiropractic today, trusted in Toma for over 20 years.
What's the more in the little cottage home decor and more? Fashion. Shopping is fun at the little cottage. Update your look and discover more at the Little Cottage Home Decor and More, New Lisbon.
The Oakdale Credit Union has spent decades serving Oakdale, Mauston, and Reedsburg. From comprehensive financial services to reliable mortgage loans, we strive to provide unparalleled care.
I like the warm and friendly atmosphere each and every time I come in. The staff is very knowledgeable and truly cares about its members.
Come and learn more about the Oakdale Credit Union, where we treat you like a member of the family.
Hardware Hank knows you have projects, lots of important projects, from paint to plumbing, electrical, and yard maintenance. We have the area's largest selection of Milwaukee tools. Hey, it's what the pros use. We even have an in-store chainsaw sharpening service. It's time to build your property's value with Hardware Hank New Lisbon.
You've got a lot more going for you with Hank, Hardware Hank.
Hi, I'm Josh Tully from The Josh Tully Show. You're watching Lynxx 24, connecting you to the community.
Well, I've been talking with Katie Flaten, mother of 3-year-old Rhett, who is going through cancer treatments and really could use your help. On April 10th, they will be having a benefit at Murray's on Main in Toma. So joining us in our conversation is event coordinator Heather Wilcox. Heather, thank you for joining us. But before we get into the event, real quickly, Katie, you wanted to kind of talk about the timeline, the long haul with Rhett with his treatments.
Right. So with Ewing sarcoma, there is a protocol that we're following. So basically, it starts with 12 weeks of chemotherapy. So weekly, we're going to Madison, and that may be a 1-day treatment, or like this last week, it was a 5-day stay, 5 days of chemo straight. And so there's this 12 weeks of that, and then we'll be imaging. We're we're 8 weeks in, into that 12 weeks. Then they'll be imaging his tumor again to know what the major intervention will be, and that could be radiation, surgery, radiation and chemo, or a mixture of all three. So the specialists will come together and decide that. And that really is kind of the unknown for us, because we may be traveling to Chicago for proton radiation versus Madison for regular radiation. And then if it's surgery, there's the recovery. But
so a lot of unknowns, long timeline.
Yes, exactly. And then because of the type of cancer that it is, it's protocol to follow up any major intervention with 22 weeks of chemotherapy in addition to everything that he's had. And that's just to make sure that if there was any residual cells that maybe have metastasized, that in theory should prevent it from relapse from occurring. And that's the goal.
Okay. Yeah. So Heather, talk about the benefit for Rhett. Give us like the date and time and all the details.
Okay, the date is April 10th, 2021. We added a cornhole tournament, so we will be going from noon that day to 5 o'clock with that, and then proceed on into the evening from 5 to 10 with Abby Lane and Bree Morgan. They'll be singing. Along with that, we'll be doing silent auctions, Chinese auctions, different fun things for everybody. It will be in our banquet area at Murray's on Main, upstairs, 2nd floor. And we have a very large banquet area up there. Seats about 420, 425, so it's very large.
So we can have a good turnout, hopefully.
So we can have a great turnout, hopefully. Yes. But yeah, so we added the cornhole to get a little more competition going in there and bringing in some fun. I have teams already that have been calling, signing up for that. I have plenty of community members and businesses that have donated items for certain things, for the raffles and everything, yes.
Where can our viewers go to find out more about the event, and even just to maybe make a donation, say they couldn't make it or they had plans, and how could they help out? What's some more social media?
So I did create a Rhett Flaten and family community page out on Facebook.
Okay.
I do post things in there, flyers, things that we've been doing. Mike also put together a Easter egg fundraiser for the family, so we get to go out and scatter eggs this Saturday all over. I mean, we had people all the way from Bangor, Westby order eggs, so that'll be really fun for us to go out and do. But we have plenty of stuff planned. There'll be lots of entertainment with Bree and Abby Lane, so we're going to have a set with each of them, and then hopefully both of them do a set together.
Is there a cost
to end the evening? There is no cost for them to come and listen. Absolutely not. There's plenty of things to do.
I got to wrap up. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Well, we want to thank you for watching your hometown news, where we're connecting you to the community.